I really started my career with knowing that I was going to help people in some way, shape, or form, and for me, it was all about just getting started and really focusing on mental health, and that's really where I kind of got my start. I got my master's degree in community counseling. And I thought at that time I was going to spend my entire career being a therapist. And um, halfway kind of through that process, I started getting exposed to a little bit more and really found that I enjoyed working with students and working in an education setting, and an opportunity presented to work in higher education with a community college. And that led to another opportunity, which was to teach courses. And the course that I was asked to teach was career decision making, and that was my first real exposure to career development. And over the course of 15 weeks of teaching that course semester after semester, I fell in love with the students, I fell in love with the subject, and I just became really, really enmeshed. And I was noticing just incredible transformations happening with the students, and getting so much clarity on where they were going and what they were doing. And that was really, really empowering. So I just slowly have been easing out of mental health and into career development. There's a couple of different things that really kind of come to my mind when it comes to what advice that I would give. But I really, coming from a mental health background and seeing it happens so often with the students and the clients that I work with, I truly believe that a positive and optimistic mindset and getting yourself mentally tough is probably one of the greatest weapons that you can equip yourself with, because you have to really check your belief system. It's going to be tough times ahead. It's going to be turbulent times ahead. We have a very competitive job market. And if you truly just beat yourself up and tell yourself that you're not valuable, that you're not an asset, that you don't have enough to offer, you're doing yourself a real disservice. You're never going to tap 100% potential. And 100% potential is going to be what's required in order to get hired. And so it is so imperative that you do that mental check, and really, really um, get a support network around you of people that will build you up. Work with a career coach, work with a therapist if you need to. Have other colleagues and other people to support you along the way in this, because it's a team effort. You utilize your network as much as possible. The other things that come to my mind is really taking time to gain clarity on really what you truly want. That extra time to get super, super crystal clear on your vision and have a clear goal or a destination in mind is going to save you a lot of time and headache. Um, I think one thing that will help significantly in that process is being able to define your unique value and what you bring. That will package up a great personal brand for yourself that you can articulate um, to employers and be able to leverage as strength, and be able to say, all right, I'm unique, I'm different, and this is how it's going to serve you towards your goals and your mission. So a thing that I often say is embrace your uniqueness. You know, Having this uber competitive job market, you need every advantage that you can take of to separate yourself from the person on the right and the person on the left. So embrace your differences. When I was kind of prepping and thinking about this particular answer, I thought about something that Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, which was that when he was trying desperately to break into acting, um, he got met with no after no after no. Casting agent after casting agent told him, nobody's ever going to hire you. You have this thick German accent. It sounds horrible, and it sounds like a robot. And funny enough, just at the right time, an opportunity presented itself where sounding like a robot, the Terminator, came calling, and he was the perfect fit. So sometimes what you might sell yourself short in terms of your liabilities can be the next person's asset. So embrace what makes you unique and valuable, and continue to build it. Continue to leverage that into your strengths. The final thing that I would say is that it's not a time to be reactive, it's a time to be proactive. So always be thinking two steps ahead. Think about how you can get in front of recruiters and hiring managers, have conversations with them. Because if you congregate around the job boards, you're going to be in with more competition than you can possibly deal with. So always be thinking about the companies that you want to work for, and the challenges that those companies are being met with, and how you can leverage all those strengths that you now have clarity on to meet those challenges. I think I'm probably going to mimic a lot of the other people who are asked this question, but obviously we know what the pandemic created in terms of a shift to remote work. So um, I think it's safe to say that remote work isn't going anywhere. However, it will probably evolve a little bit in terms of how it looks for a lot of different companies and what seems to be favorable. But I think one of the things when you kind of look at the studies and see the surveys of where people are at with that, I think employers have realized that moving to remote work hasn't lost any productivity whatsoever, and in fact, it's actually increased productivity, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. And so I think there's so many different positions where, for a long time they convinced themselves that remote work wasn't going to be viable, and now turns out that it can be, and that people are doing pretty well with it. Having said that, I do see probably more of a shift as the year continues on to more of a hybrid kind of a model. And I think that just comes down to millennials and Gen Z. So from everything that I've heard and listened to, and working with students particularly, surprisingly, it's the younger generations that are not in love with remote work. And you would think that being tech savvy, they would love it and then embrace it. But they connect their social life to work. Their colleagues are the people that they spend the weekends with. And so not having that anymore has really created this wedge in their social life, and that's difficult. And so we're all a little bit disjointed right now. So I definitely think that's one thing that we could probably count on. As I mentioned before, competition is going to be the thing that's going to continue, right? We're going to have a serious uptick in competition, and I think it's really going to come down to the fact that we have three pockets of people all competing for the same jobs. The fact is, we have people who have been laid off, who've been displaced, right, because of the pandemic. That's one pocket. Then you have people who are looking to move and shift, like the people who are just looking to promote or to make a lateral move, or just change out of their job. So you have those pockets, and then you have this new pocket over here of all these people from across the country and across the world who now can apply for the same job because everything is remote and the playing field is level. So so now you get a lot of people congregating in the same space. And so it's going to be a little tough. It's going to be a little challenging to separate and differentiate yourself when you have that level of competition, all kind of vying for different things. um so I'm sorry, I was I had wrote a couple of notes here.
Oh, you're okay.
Oh, so the last trend that I think is noteworthy, and this maybe goes under the advice category as well, is about how you differentiate. And I think it's really critical, and it's really really important that job seekers um, really embrace what is going to be their specific area of expertise, and harness that and use that to their advantage, and not feel that being a specialist is in any way limiting, because that can be the greatest asset that you have. It's going to be the jack of all trades that's really going to suffer, because if you are just adequate in everything, you're not meeting a specific need that a company has. And so So it's really, and that's not going to serve you well when you're trying to separate from enhanced competition. As I'm going through a session or I'm working through a particular subject, or if it's job search strategy, if it's resume writing, if it's something that has to do with networking or LinkedIn, I just reflect on what are the things that I'm constantly telling students, because if I'm seeing it there, then I know they're not the only one that's dealing with it. And so a lot of times I'll do that in mid session where I'll be like, oh man, that would be a good post because I've said this like 3 times this week or something like that. So I sometimes will just write that down. I say, let me come back to that. The other thing that I think kind of goes into my thought process too is that I know what it's like. I've been there. I've struggled in job seeking a lot, and I just kind of go back to the place of empathy. What's the information that I wish that I had that nobody ever seemed to give me, that I definitely didn't get in school, right? I remember going through grad school and never getting an ounce of job search. Nobody ever told me this stuff. It's just things that you have to learn on the fly. And and so had I known this, I would have saved myself so much time and headache. So I think about that a lot. I just think about what's the information I wish I had. The things that seem to resonate a lot the most, I think, are personal testimonies or areas where your humanness kind of comes out a little bit. People can really get behind it. People can really self-identify struggle and what it's like to go through difficult circumstances as it pertains to their own career development and their own job search. And so I try to be transparent about, particularly lately, I try to be transparent about the fact that, I struggled for a long time. I went through a period where I had applied for 5 separate jobs and came in second place 4 out of those 5. And I think that post, certainly got some love, because people know what it's like to be in that space and be frustrated. So I think just anything that connects you um, to the human side of job search, the mental game, as I say, the what kind of goes on in the space of your belief system or how you feel about yourself, things like imposter syndrome, things like inadequacy, self-confidence, all of the emotions that are wrapped up in it. I think people can connect to that a lot. And then obviously, if you have ways to turn that into tangible action steps, then that's great as well. But anything that you can do that really hits to people's core and lets them know, hey, you're not alone. You're not the only person who's ever dealt with this. Even the experts, even the people that I look up to and that I value and follow, when I hear their stories, I go, oh my gosh, it's not just me. And so I think that resonates a lot with me, and so it seems to with others.